have a depression, the likes of which you haven't seen since the Depression of 1929.
Pull that excuse out, Trump fans.
They're poisoning the blood of our country.
Donald Trump spoke at a rally where he seemingly mentally collapsed, adopting Nazi and KKK-like rhetoric while going off the rails about a multitude of topics, all of which we're going to cover today, and all of which, by the way, his desensitized audience was clapping and cheering as it happened. The first clip I want to look at is something that he's actually been saying a lot recently, even going as far to post it on Truth Social, about how immigrants are poisoning the blood of America, which is reminiscent of the ethnic purifying language used by the Nazis.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. The terrorism is going to be, and then we built a tremendous piece of the wall.
Now, this is dangerous for a few reasons particularly, and remember, this is the language the Nazis used under Hitler, the KKK used about African Americans, and was used deep in the apartheid of South Africa, but it's also dangerous for the way that he is painting immigrants, most of which come here legally and never stir up much legal trouble, but instead he's attributing them to mental institutions, prison, and terrorism. This is xenophobia at its finest, and he's just being masked off about it and playing to the races that largely make up his base at this point. What this claim is, to its root, is that we have a sense of racial purity here in America. We're better than other countries because we're America, and it gets mixed and dirty when we start mixing in immigrants and people from these other countries, and we can't let that happen. So on that ground, and on those bases alone, we must keep these people out of America at all costs. Here is a quick snapshot of him doubling down on this statement on Truth Social, so you don't think I'm just taking this clip out of context, or it's just him misspeaking once. It's something he said in a multitude of speeches and has doubled down on. Next, I want to jump to Trump trying to take credit for our economy. I know, confusing, like, is it bad and Biden's fault, or is it good and it's Trump's fault? But he's saying that the Biden administration is just running on the fumes of his tax cuts, which is funny for a few reasons, but check this out.
The Biden administration is running on the fumes of the great success of the Trump administration. They're just running on the fumes of what we did with the tax cuts and the regulation cuts. Without us, this thing would have crashed to levels never seen before. And if we're not elected, we will have a depression, the likes of which you haven't seen since the Depression of 1929.
So this is actually hilarious for quite a few reasons. Not only did Trump make this claim after Wall Street hit an all-time high, unemployment's at an all-time low, our GDP's over 3, and wages are finally outpacing inflation, but he made this same claim in 2020, and it did not happen. Not even close. And that was off the backs of the mess of an economy that Trump handed Biden with the GDP decline, the job loss, and the record levels of inflation, both which the inflation in the GDP was a higher level of inflation and higher decline than any other country in the G7. But it's also hilarious because a lot of Trump's own early economic successes in his administration were actually off the fumes of the great Obama economy that he was handed, and he was still unable to live up to those. For instance, Obama dropped unemployment over 3%. Trump dropped unemployment 0.5%, but he's the one who got the credit because it hit the record low when it was under him, but he could hardly drop it the amount Obama dropped it. He was unable to outperform Obama's last 3 years in both jobs or GDP growth in his first 3 years, all pre-COVID, before you pull that excuse out, Trump fans. So while Trump was handed a golden economy that he was unable to live up to, he's now acting like the mess of an economy that he gave Joe Biden is somehow the reason we're still afloat. Like, make that make sense to me, because in reality, it's because of legislation like the American Rescue Plan, getting money directly in the hands of family, the child tax credit, lowering medicine and drug costs, inflation costs, and getting money back into the economy, rolling out safe vaccines so people could go back to their job, critical investments into our economy and manufacturing and production, and being able to jumpstart it back to closer to where it was from before it got shut down, all of which are things that Trump opposed, all of which are things that Trump mocked Biden for doing, only to now turn around and want to take credit for the effects as if it's somehow because of his bills that he passed, that most of which were temporary and all of which have long been reversed. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning here, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing on this channel is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. Because the only way we become a society is together.